Since 1935, our nation's laws have specifically recognized the right of working people to organize and form unions. All major religions support the rights of workers to organize unions. In an address to the Confederation of Italian Labor Unions, Pope Benedict XVI said, quote, "The great challenge and the great opportunity posed by today's worrisome economic crisis is to find a new synthesis between the common good and the market, between capital and labor. And in this regard, union organizations can make a significant contribution." But if you ask most workers what would happen if they tried to organize a union in their workplace, they would likely reply that they would get fired. In fact, 1 in 5 union organizers or activists can expect to be fired during an effort to organize a union in their workplace. Unfortunately, most companies run vicious anti-union campaigns in the workplace. 85% of companies hire union-busting law firms. At $400 or more per hour, these firms advise companies on how to remain union-free. Usually, this involves firing a few of the leaders to discourage others from organizing, giving union leaders the worst schedules and shifts. Managers take workers aside individually and pressure them to oppose the union. 49% of companies threaten to shut down their businesses if workers organize a union. According to Martin J. Levitt, author of Confessions of a Union Buster, quote, "A campaign against a union is an assault on individuals and a war on the truth. As such, it is a war without honor. The only way to bust a union is to lie, distort, manipulate, threaten, and always attack. The law does not hamper the process." Even when workers manage to successfully advocate for their union, employers often refuse to engage in good faith negotiations for a first contract indefinitely. Although we are all equal in the sight of God, a boss has a lot more power than a worker in the workplace or at the bargaining table. 42 million workers say they would join a union today if they could, but the current process for organizing a union does not work given employer intimidation. There are many reasons why workers choose to form unions. These include fair wages. Low-wage workers who choose to form a union earn just over 16% more for doing the exact same jobs as non-union workers. Health insurance. Workers in unions are more than twice as likely to have quality health insurance. Pensions. Workers in unions are almost 3 times more likely to have a pension than other low-wage workers. Unions also advocate for policies that help all workers, such as immigration reform, national health coverage, and minimum wage increases. Unions help improve conditions for all workers. But clearly, the prevailing union certification process by which workers attempt to form their unions and by which they secure their first contracts is not working, which is why the Employee Free Choice Act was developed. This simple bill does 3 things. First, it puts the decision as to how workers may form their unions in the hands of the workers themselves. Currently, employers decide on the process. If a majority of workers sign authorization cards indicating they want a union, they could either insist that their union is recognized immediately, or they can initiate proceedings for a formal union election. Either way, it's the workers' choice. Second, if within a period of 3 months, workers and their employers have not negotiated a contract, a mediator would be brought in. If a contract still isn't reached in another month, the contract would go to binding arbitration. Third, it increases fines and penalties for companies that fire, intimidate, and harass workers. The bill is quite simple and less than 5 pages. Get a copy from www.iwj.org and read it yourself. If you listen to some employers, you would think the sky is falling. Hundreds of religious leaders who have experience with the brutal attacks against workers who try to organize are stepping forward to support the Employee Free Choice Act.
As the United States now endures what is perhaps one of the greatest economic crises in its history, it is vitally necessary to recognize that we cannot recover the health of our economy and our society without ensuring that the dignity and freedom of every worker is secure.
For Muslims, justice is an integral and indispensable part of all human relationships, including those within the workplace and between employers and workers. This protection is part of our moral commitment to justice and to our calling as Muslims to work for economic and social justice for all people in society.
The Employee Free Choice Act will restore the right of workers to form unions. This is a basic human right that has been too long and too often neglected in our society. As a people of faith, we are called to stand with working women and men whenever they choose to form a union. And we are called to support sound legislation that will protect their right to do so.
Adoption of the Employee Free Choice Act gives working people the strength, the opportunity, the hope to emerge from the despair that so often encumbers their lives.
The bill is likely to pass easily in the House of Representatives, but it will be harder in the Senate because it will need 60 votes instead of just a majority. This is due to special Senate rules requiring 60 votes for cloture, which formally brings debate to an end in order for senators to vote on actual legislation. Contact your congressman and urge them to support the Employee Free Choice Act. Sign a postcard in support. If you're a religious leader, sign on to a religious leader statement. Organize an educational forum. Pray for all workers and all employers in the nation. These are challenging times in our nation, but out of challenges come opportunities. We can either put our heads in the sand, pretending that things are okay, or we can figure out new laws and new systems for ensuring that workers are treated fairly and have a voice in the workplace. The Employee Free Choice Act is a good bill for giving workers a voice and correcting the imbalance of power in the workplace. Join Interfaith Worker Justice in supporting the Employee Free Choice Act.